I'm Noah Abrams, and welcome to The Days Between, the show where I talk to my friends, people I admire, and people I want to better understand about success, failure, happiness, and misery, as well as all the other elements that make up a life well lived. Along the way, we'll look at mental, spiritual, and physical health, and when life didn't go as planned, the steps they took to get themselves from A to B and beyond. This week, I'm speaking with Tristan Prettyman. As a songwriter, she has had plenty to say about love over the course of her career. From the pain of an engagement ended to young love lost, Tristan has suffered her fair share of heartache, and at times, very publicly. Her ability to channel those experiences into song set Tristan on an unconventional career path that led to a major record label debut shortly after finishing high school. Her personal mantra of just saying yes and choosing the road less traveled created opportunities that only reinforced the strength of her own internal intuition and, combined with a work ethic inherited from her father, set the stage for much of her success, including what she calls her most important to date, motherhood. A proponent of self-work and therapy, Tristan offers her experience navigating the end of a marriage, learning to co-parent, and her ever-evolving definition of love. Whether you're single, married, or someplace in between, Tristan's story is proof in the power of vulnerability to lead us to places we may never have imagined for ourselves, but are oftentimes exactly where we belong. As she shares, life may play out different than we expect, but by remaining open to possibility and allowing our egos to take a back seat, different can actually mean better. Please enjoy Tristan Prettyman on The Days Between. So I'm here in Santa Monica, California, with Tristan Prettyman. Good morning, TP.
Good morning.
You grew up just down the road from here, yeah?
Yeah, San Diego.
Only child?
I kind of grew up like an only child. I have a brother who's 7 years older, half brother. Same mom, different dad.
What was that like growing up?
My brother is my safe space. He was the best brother a sister could ask for.
Were your parents together the entire time you were growing up?
Yes, and he would go back and forth. But there was a lot of tension. My dad was really hard on him. I think it took a while for my dad to really accept him.
Was he hard on you?
Yes.
In what way?
I love my dad, but he's a perfectionist. He was very critical growing up, very accusatory, a lot of judgment. You know, he was a contractor. He was in construction for a long time. He took a lot of great pride in, like, when he would build something or do a project, you know, he would really take his time and do it the right way. It was very much like no shortcuts. Like, he just took a lot of pride in the work that he did. So, you know, growing up was always like, oh, you did that pretty good, but like, here's like the one place you like didn't do it right. Or here's how I would have done it. Or I'm not going to let you do that because I'm going to do it better. And you're not, you know, so there was a lot of this like very tense environment growing up as a kid. So I would spend a lot of time alone, which I think is why I kind of gravitated towards music, you know, because I would just go to my room and write poetry, or I would be like, okay, I'm going to learn how to play guitar, and I can just do that alone in my room. Like, I tried just not to draw attention to myself because it was very easy to get in trouble for stuff in my house, you know? And so it was like, my solution was like, I'll just take myself out of that equation as much as possible and go take care of myself.
And taking care of yourself looked like?
It really involved spending a lot of time outside.
Is that how you got into surfing?
Well, actually, my dad taught me how to surf. I think I was in 6th grade going into 7th, and I remember the teacher was listing off like the clubs for the junior high school, and one of them was surfing, and I was like, oh, surfing, like I love the beach, like, oh, no girls really surf, like I'm gonna do that, like I want to do that, because everyone was doing soccer and baseball and softball and theater, and I was just like not being called to any of those things. And so I remember coming home and saying, I think I want to do surf team next year. I was trying to be a pioneer, I think. Maybe it was like not having to compare myself for anyone, because, you know, like softball, there would be like girls that were really fucking good at softball, or soccer, and I just never felt good enough. So then I saw surfing come up, and I was like, well, no girls are good at surfing, so perfect. I could try that. And then there's not this level of intimidation, I guess.
Was your dad surfing at that point?
So my dad surfed when he was younger, but not at this point. No, he had stopped. So the cool part was I came home totally expecting my parents to be like, not another fucking extracurricular activity. Like, we don't have the money. Like, no. And I said, I want to learn to surf. And my dad was like, cool, I'll teach you how to surf. It was like I got to see this different part of him, and he was so patient and he was so stoked. And then he got into surfing. My mom eventually learned to surf. My brother was away at Humboldt State. He started surfing. Like, I recall my parents fighting a lot as a kid, but when everyone started learning to surf, it's almost like my parents suddenly had something in common again that everyone could do.
And this was junior high, high school?
Yeah, I was in 7th, 8th grade. And then I was on the surf team. I was doing surf contests.
I'm curious about the surf contest.
Oh, God, hated it. I don't really do well under pressure, so I would just totally, like, bomb it. Like, it was, like, really bad. Like, I recall being in heats and just doing, like, cartwheels off the front of my board and just being total kook town, and being, like, feel like I forgot everything I knew how to do and, feeling a lot of anxiety. But, it was actually the surf contest that I did later on in life, like later in I think I was maybe, 19 or 20. I did this local surf festival at Cardiff Reef down in Encinitas, like North County, San Diego, where I grew up. And I remember I think I made it to like the semifinals or something. So I remember being in this heat and I hear this music coming from the beach and it's Jack Johnson playing in the parking lot. It's like bright, like before he, his career took off. And I just remember being like, this is fucking heaven. Like, I'm surfing Cardiff Reef to the sound of Jack Johnson live. And it was really Jack Johnson that made me want to pursue music, because I kind of realized I don't have to be the best guitar player or the best singer. I can just do my thing and that can be enough, like he's pretty simple, but his music is very profound and it's very unique to him. Because I think I had started to play music, like teaching myself how to play guitar around that time, but feeling discouraged about making that into a career, because I was like, who am I to make this into a career? Like, I don't have any like vocal training. I've never had a guitar lesson. Like, I'm just teaching myself. I don't know enough. And then I actually got to have a conversation with him, and he was just like, you can just be you. Like, what you have to offer is like uniquely yours. And so I kind of just had this epiphany of like, oh, just because I'm not the best in all of these areas doesn't mean I can't do this as a career. Like, I'll just give it a go and see what happens and just do my thing. And that really gave me the courage to pursue music. And then my brother, being 7 years older in the 90s, he was into like Soundgarden and Metallica. And, he took me to Widespread Panic. And it was actually his friend that gave me, for my 13th birthday, a mixtape of Ani DeFranco. That was the fucking game changer. I still have that tape.
What was it about Ani DeFranco?
I mean, I was like 13, 14, starting to hormonally change and going into that teenage angst phase where I was just like, fuck you, everybody, nobody understands me. Nobody could possibly know how I feel. Starting to like boys and, just coming, transitioning, just in that transitional phase that we go through in our teenage years. And putting that tape on, I was like, holy fuck, she's in my head. Like, she is talking about things and singing about things that we are not supposed to talk about. And it was such a contrast from the shit I heard on the radio. Like, it just blew my fucking mind. And I was like, music like this exists? Like, it felt so liberating. Like, I felt like someone understood me. I found this guitar in our extra room in our house, like kind of tucked away, and it was my dad's guitar, I guess. And so I would sneak that out when he was at work, and I would start teaching myself how to play.
Were you writing songs out of the gate?
No, I was playing guitar very terribly, very poorly. I would sit on the porch and make my neighbor Emma like listen to me as I would, I was trying to learn Ani songs actually. And I was writing poetry, and I've always written a lot in a journal. I've always kept a journal, always liked to storytell and write poems. And I think I got like a guitar chord book from the library or maybe a music store or something. So I was trying to teach myself how to play. And then somewhere in there, I like merged the two together. But in that moment, I didn't really realize what I was doing. I didn't realize that I was like organically becoming a songwriter. It just kind of happened.
Would you call them tone poems, or were these actual songs?
I think when I started writing songs, I mean, I was writing like verses and choruses. And I'm suck at bridges. I hate bridges. I'm always like, build a bridge and get over it. But they were like songs. Yeah. I was like writing songs.
Was there a moment where you're like, I want to do this as a career? Was it the Jack moment?
Out of high school, I would continue to teach myself and learn songs and start writing songs. And I had written several songs. And so I was starting to get comfortable enough to start sharing those with people and kind of gaining some confidence. And so I remember being like at this, like our friend's house party. I was friends with a bunch of pro surfers and was sitting on the floor one night playing, and the roommate came home and he was like, I'm working on this surf film with Taylor Steele called Shelter, and we're doing the whole soundtrack using a mini disc player. It's very like raw and stripped down. You'd be perfect. You want to come down and record some songs for it? And I was kind of like, I have like 8 halves of songs. Like I don't have any completed songs, but sure. Like, so I remember like going down to this, like their editing bay and playing every song I had. And I played a song called Anything at All. And it was like halfway written. And then I remember just like on the spot, just like making the whole song up, like the whole rest of the end of the song, and kind of like freestyling. And that song they ended up using on the Shelter soundtrack. And that went on the soundtrack, and that was kind of it. Then they started getting emails for like, who's this song by and who's this artist and where can we get her music? And that guy who asked me to come in and record, his name is Joe Guglielmino, and he was just like, okay, people are asking about you, so like, what should we tell, what do I tell them? And I'm like, I don't know. What you tell them? Give them my email? Like, I don't have a CD. I don't have any music recorded. I don't even know what I'm doing. Like, I guess I'm doing this now. It was kind of like that, I guess I gotta go play shows now. And he took me under his wing, and he was like, I'm not a music manager, but I really love your voice and what you're doing, and I'll help manage you. He was like, let's record an EP. We booked the studio up in Ojai, and we went to Ojai for a weekend. I had saved up like $2,000 from the pizza shop I was working at. Went up to Ojai, slept on the studio floor, made an EP, and then I had this EP, and I would sell it at the pizza place I was working at. Like I was still working at the pizza place, selling my CD, talking to the regulars. And there was this lawyer that would come in, and he bought my CD. He went to the Belly Up, which is our kind of local venue in North County, gave it to the booking agent there. Was like, you got to have this girl play. The next thing I know, the booking agent from the Belly Up's calling me like, some guy dropped your CD off and like, do you want to play the Battle of the Bands? And so I played the Battle of the Bands and came in second. And then the booking agent was like, do you want to open for like national acts that are coming through? And I'm like, yeah, I'll like do whatever. And I was kind of like trying to play the coffee shops because that's what everyone told me, like, go play the coffee shops. But I kind of wasn't like feeling the coffee shops. Like I was just like, the coffee shops feel like there was this kind of like pretentiousness with the coffee shop people. And I was just like, this is like, feels too snooty to me in this weird way. And so I would just like stay up in my zone up in North County. And so it was weird. Instead of going the route that like all the musicians in San Diego were seeming to go like downtown San Diego to the coffee shops and kind of play in this like cliquey circle. And I just have always been an outcast. It's like the same with the surfing. I just was like, I don't want to do what everyone else is doing. I'm going to go do my own thing. I would just say yes. Whoever wanted me to play, I would just say yes. That's still to this day what I tell up and coming musicians. I'm like, get the fuck over yourself. Get over thinking you need to be here. You're better than this or whatever. Just say yes to everything. If somebody wants you to play, just say yes, because it's all practice and it's all experience under your belt and it's all life experience, and that's going to help you along the way. And so I was just playing at all these random restaurants, and my friend who was helping me out called and said, we just got this email from G-Love and Special Sauce's manager, and they want you to open like a 2-week tour. I was like, okay, like that's fucking amazing. Next thing I know, my brother and I rented this like Hyundai roller skate, like the cheapest fucking rental car that you could, rent. And we drove 2 days to Texas. And that was the other thing is like, I didn't have anyone helping me do anything. And my brother, I don't remember what he was doing, but whatever he was doing, he was like, yeah, I'll come and like tour manage you and help you for 2 weeks. Like, he was like, I'm not letting my sister go on the road with a bunch of dude musicians. Like, and that was kind of it. I went and opened those shows, sold the 100 CDs the first night. Didn't know any different. I was like, this is awesome. And their manager was like, who the fuck is this opener selling so much merch?
What was the time span between the song basically playing anything at all on Shelter to opening up for G-Love?
All of this happened in the span of like from when I graduated high school in 2000, I released a major label record in 2004.
So within the span of 4 years, you go from not having any plans on being a musician to having a major label debut.
Yeah.
What did that feel like?
I don't know. Like I was just on the magic carpet and I don't know where we're going, but I just kept saying yes. I was like, it happened so organically at the time because I didn't really know where I was going. I kind of just let it take me where it was going.
Did you feel prepared?
In the moment, I felt super prepared. I felt, I'm a super intuitive person. I always have been. So I think in my gut, I was like, kept walking that way, like with everything that happened, I just said yes. And then it was like another door would open and then another thing would happen. And it didn't at the time feel like it was happening at this lightning speed. It felt like I was putting in a lot of work and a lot of effort. And that thing that I got from my dad, that like, if we're going to do something, we're going to do it with integrity and we're going to do it seriously. And we're going to have, put our pride into it. Like, so in my mind, I was like, okay, I don't know where this path is going, but it felt right. Like, I was just like, I'm just going to be open to this and where this is leading. And it was really fucking exciting.
Were there any other musicians in the San Diego area that were getting that kind of attention?
Yes. Jason Mraz. Somehow someone connected me to someone at Taylor Guitars. That person connected me to a DJ at one of the radio stations at 91X, and that's how I met my friend Anya Marina, because she was a DJ at the time. So she was having a birthday concert, and Jason was also on that bill. And I remember I was so nervous because he had just gotten a record label deal, I want to say, and was starting to play some bigger shows. And I said to him, if you ever need an opener, I would love to open for you. That was way out of my league at that point, but I was just going for it because I was like, kind of fell in love with him, like love at first sight at that show. And I was just like, fake it till you make it. And also because I kind of avoided this coffee shop circle, like no one knew who I was. But I guess that's kind of me in a nutshell. I'll just like throw myself into things and see what sticks.
Were you and Jason dating at the time your major label debut came out?
Yes. I mean, I chased him for a long time. I ended up coming on tour with him, opening one of his first tours. And we were friends for like 2 years before we started dating.
And the reason I ask is when I went back to do some of the research for this interview, I pulled up a lot of the early reviews of 23. And I would say, at least in the material that I found, a good 90% of the articles written about Tristan Prettyman name-checked Jason Mraz within the first couple sentences.
Yeah.
And I'm curious if at the time you were aware of that and how that felt.
I think in the moment it felt awesome because he was blowing up. He had like a really solid fan base and his fans embraced me. And when I opened the shows and were very supportive, it quickly got old though. At first it's fun. You're making music with your partner and they're supremely talented and you get to play shows together and have each other's support. And that feels very exciting. But at some point it did start to feel like I was like, oh, I'm just Jason Mraz's girlfriend. I'm not Tristan Prettyman. And I think at some point that clicked. And I was just like, that kind of sucks. Like I'm just in this shadow of him. And I think that's one of the reasons that we broke up the first time was because we were babies. We were in our young 20s and I was just in his shadow. And I was just kind of like, wait, do people actually like my music or do people just like me because I'm dating Jason Mraz? And then I kind of was like, oh, I don't actually like this. Like I want to be my own person and my own thing. And I don't need, it's interesting. That whole thing reminds me of like the approval thing with my dad. Like intuitively I knew like I want to be approved for me, not because I'm associated with this person. because they're in the spotlight right now and cool, you know? So I would say at the time I wasn't aware of that, but I did eventually, you know, arrive at that conclusion where I was like, huh, are people just wanting to interview me and write things about me because I'm his girlfriend, you know? And that was interesting.
Did it ever feel like a crutch that it was giving you some sense of legitimacy to be there?
Probably, yeah, for sure. There's probably an element of that. Absolutely.
So you guys then break up.
Yeah.
And then what did you do on your own to sort of get out of that shadow?
I just started to try to find my way. Like, who am I as a musician? Who am I without the Jason Mraz connection? And who am I? What am I doing? You know?
And how long did that go on for?
That's still going on. I'm a Gemini. I'm always trying to figure out what I'm doing. That went on for a while. I mean, yeah, it really is still going on. But, you know, we ended up getting back together. Then we ended up getting engaged, and it was like this fairy tale, like fucking romance. And then he ended the engagement. And I think then I figured out who I was, because then I made Cedar and Gold, and that felt for the first time like I was like, I'm going to show you who's boss.
Well, you said to Vanity Fair in 2012, you're in something with someone who obviously has a bigger voice than you, and everyone is automatically going to take that side. There was a time before this record came out where I didn't feel like I had a voice. It was torture. And then Cedar and Gold comes out.
Yeah.
How did that feel?
That was epic. I mean, Cedar and Gold, you know, he released his record first, which I interpreted as like, he's like, I won't give up, and I'm the hurt one. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, this is not what happened. Like, and I was like, oh, well, my record's still coming. So it was it was fun. It was an exciting time. And I just felt like I finally was coming into my own. And I felt so clear on these songs. I felt like I had a voice. I felt like this is the record I have been preparing myself to make. And this level of expression and clarity that I had writing that record and making that record. I mean, I wrote most of those songs on the floor of this little 700 square foot cabin that was, my dad bought it in the 60s. I lived there until I was 5 with my family. And that, like, I mean, that's, my grandma came to me in a dream, and I was trying to figure out what to name the record. And she was just like, look around, like, and the walls of this cabin were cedar. And she said, Cedar and Gold. This is, you've been surrounded by cedar, and you're spinning your heartbreak into gold, you're taking the silver linings from all these things, all the lessons that you've learned, you're putting them into song. And so that's how the album got titled. And that was just such a surreal process. And then all the press came, and it was just like my turn to tell the side of the story.
One review literally made me laugh out loud. And
let's hear it.
The title of the review is Jason Mraz's ex gives her version of breakup in new songs. The first sentence, Jason Mraz's ex-fiance has responded to the singer's account of their breakup in a new collection of songs. Tristan Prettyman. So your name didn't even come until the second sentence. Do you feel like it got a fair shake?
I do, yeah. Yeah, for sure. And you know, that album was very cathartic for me to make. That record was for me and my healing, and for me to come into owning my creativity and what I'm capable of, and empowering myself. And I definitely reached a point where I was like, okay, I'm like sick of telling the sob story. Like, we can be done now. Because I really like juiced the victimization, and you know, but we only can operate in the world with what we know and know about ourselves. So in that time, I didn't know what I know now, you know? So I was very much in this, like, I'm going to show him. And like, I mean, we see that shit all the time, like fueled in the tabloids and people pitting themselves against each other. And so like, definitely people spun it, you know, in ways that I would say maybe went a little bit too far or criticized it or whatever. But I'm so happy with that. I mean, that album means so much to me, and was such a healing part of my process to actually accurately put into words and song what I was feeling at the time.
So you have this engagement end.
Yeah.
You put out this record that finally feels like you're being heard.
Yeah.
And then what comes next?
And then I was like touring, and it felt like I was like finally growing up. And I toured a lot. I toured a lot on Cedar and Gold. And that was super fun. And then I got a call one day to play a show for a Google executive. This is how I meet Bill. And
who is Bill?
Bill is the father of my child. Okay, so Bill, we get this request, and then it quickly goes from like a barbecue, a company barbecue to like, no, this guy just wants actually you to play at his house. And meanwhile, Bill is emailing me and I'm super annoyed because I'm like, this fucking Google guy is trying to go behind my manager straight to me, like talk to my fucking manager, talk to my booking agent. Like I'm not having it. And so my manager's like, okay, so it's going to be like, it's a private dinner, private performance at his residence. But he really wants to talk to you about like the set and stuff. And I'm just like, ugh, fuck, fine. Like for whatever reason, I was just super annoyed. And so we hop on the phone and I'm just, I grew up in Southern California. At that time when I thought of Google, I'm thinking of like techie, serious people, like, and I have nothing in common with. And so we hop on the phone. He's like, hey, how's it going? How's the weather down there? So like, what'd you do today? And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Because I'm used to people when they're booking shows and paying a shit ton of money for a private show. It's very professional. And nothing about this is feeling professional. And I'm super confused. And so we start talking. We talk for like an hour. I'm like, this guy is pretty funny. And I'm like, that's cool. He's like down to earth. Like, that's awesome because that's not what I was expecting. Still don't think much of it. So we book the show. In the meantime, he's like, bring whoever you want. Like, you can bring your friends. And I'm just like, this is so bizarre. Like, okay, whatever. So we fly up to the Bay Area, do this show. So I bring like 5 of my friends, the guy that I'm dating. And, Bill's living in this like very modest house, like the house that I grew up in kind of, it's very like not flashy at all. And he has a room upstairs that's like transformed into a dressing room. And so I'm up there and he just wants to hang out in the dressing room and talk the whole time. And he's just like, I love this song. And then he proceeds to tell me, I actually went to school on the East Coast and I had a bunch of friends that were coming to go to college or out of college. They were moving to San Francisco. So we did a road trip. The first night we got to San Francisco, we were just walking down the street and saw there was a show going on at the Fillmore. And we went to the show and it was you. It was like me, Jason Mraz, and James Blunt. He's like, I got your CD that night and like, I've always loved your music ever since. And I was like, wow. And this is like 7 years ago. So we're just in the dressing room, like we're just upstairs hanging out all night. I play this show to like 25 people there. And then we just hang out. Like he's arranged, like there's a magician going around. There's like an ice cream station. Like it's set up like this catered party, but I'm still kind of like, I'm trying to figure out what's going on here.
What the event is or what the occasion is or?
Yeah. And what I later come to find out is he had gotten out of a relationship. The girl found my CD and was like, who the fuck is Tristan and why is there a heart on this CD? Because he had come to the show in San Francisco and gotten my CD and talked to me at the merch table. And I signed a CD for him like 7 years previous. And he had kept the CD in his CD collection. And so, this is like in one of those classic, like his relationship was ending and they're in this big fight and she's like, who the fuck is Tristan? And he's like, I don't know. Like, I just went to a concert once. Why is her heart on this? He's like, I don't know. And she was like, I bet you just love it if I was some singer-songwriter barefoot with my guitar in my bikini, Roxy model. And he was like, are you like Googling her? And she's like, yeah, I looked her up, and she's like, I bet you would just love that. And when he retells the story, he's like, yeah, I would. That sounds pretty good. Like, and so I guess that like stuck with him enough to then when he got out of this relationship, he was like, I wonder what that girl's up to. And then he like looked me up. He saw that I had been engaged and then unengaged and looked to be single and thought, well, what better way to like find out if she's crazy or not? Like, I'll just hire her for a show and I'll see what she's like. And if she's nice, maybe I'll ask her out. And so I remember the guy I was dating was like, I really need to go home because we were doing a benefit show for this project he was working on. And I remember Bill just going, well, we can send you home. And then my 2 best friends corner him into a room downstairs. And they were like, we know exactly what's going on. And you don't want any part in this. She will destroy you. You are way too nice and you are way too kind. And she will just shred you to pieces. And he was like, sounds fun. And they were like, you cannot ask her out. Like, you really can't. Like, just do yourself a favor. I'm like, thanks, guys. And he's like, sorry, too late. I already did. And he had said, like, I'm going to be in LA. I'd love to take you out to dinner. I was like, okay, like, I'll let you know. And I was very confused at this whole thing. Like, I was trying to wrap my head around exactly what happened. So I go home and, a week later, Bill's like, he's just like, he's very persistent. I'm used to guys who are like, want to go for a surf and get a burrito. And I'm like, is this a date? And they're like, is it a date? Like, I don't know. Like, no one's asking me on a date. It's very rare I ever get asked on a date, like proper date. And Bill was like, I'm going to be in LA, would love to take you to dinner. I was like, I have a band rehearsal. He's like, great. I'll make a reservation. And I remember like calling my manager going like, the guy like that we did the show for, like asked me out. And the guy that I was dating, we were kind of just like hooking up. Like we would just kind of date when we were not dating other people. So he was like a friend, but it's not like it was going anywhere. So when Bill hit on me, like he was already like, yeah, I already knew. Like, I don't care. Like if you want to go hang out, it doesn't matter.
But how did that feel?
It felt great, but I also was kind of like, I don't know if this is like not my type of guy at all either. And I remember my manager saying, look, you don't have to marry the guy. Like he's really seems like a pretty fascinating person that you might be able to learn a lot from. So why don't there's no harm in just going to dinner with him and talking to him. Like it's not just not an arranged marriage, like calm down. And I was like, okay. And so we went to dinner in LA and we had like a 3-hour dinner. Like we shut the restaurant down. And I was kind of like, like it kind of feels nice to have someone actually pursue me and like be actually interested in me for me and not just trying to like get me in bed or like I felt like he really like genuinely wanted to get to know me. So we just continued to get to know each other. But he was on the fast track to like find a wife, have the kids. He was ready. He had been through a series of like pretty crappy relationships of people cheating and being, not who they say they are and all sorts of issues. So I think he was just like, I want to just find my person and let's like do it. And he's kind of very like, or when I met him, he was very like that, like, let's just like check it off the list, like, and I was kind of like, whoa, this is exciting. Like, where are we going? Like, woo. And I just kind of, very similar to music. I just said, yes. I was just like, yes. Okay. Yeah. You want to go to like France and Iceland and South Africa? Like, okay, like who am I to say no? Like, let's do it. Like, and we just had a blast. Like we went and traveled and we did like an overseas like trip, not very long after we met. And we traveled really well together. And I was like, well, God, like if you can travel with someone, like that's everything, but it was very quick. And then in 8 months we were engaged. And then next thing you know, we're on tour. Let me tell you, touring with your husband is not a good idea.
Why is that?
Oh my God. I mean, we were just married and, like I was telling you, like Google land is so foreign to me. Like take the Google guy and put him on tour. He's just like, what is going on here? Like, wow, we're in a tour bus. And Bill is such a music lover. He was like a kid in a candy shop, like to know, he's a very curious person and such a music fan that he was just so pumped to be on tour. Like he just thought it was the coolest thing to be like traveling and at the venues and see what goes on backstage and watch the sound check and see the fan interaction. And then, people would recognize him and start talking to him. And like, I mean, there are some really sweet parts of it, but like also on tour, like that's my job. Like, and on a day off, I need a day off. And when you're in a relationship and your partner is on tour with you, I remember this being on tour with Jason and not playing, you come second, you're not the priority. So then on those days off, you're like, okay, what are we going to do together? And it's like that person, you're exhausted. Like I can't entertain you, so that was a very trying part of our marriage for sure. Like we got into like a very huge fight. We almost split up.
On your first tour?
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and we're talking like got married in August and this is like October, November.
And you're out on tour together.
And we got fucking tested. Yeah. And it was, that was very challenging. That was a very challenging time. The triggers and the traumas of relationship don't usually come up until after a year or two. So we were on the fast pass track, like got engaged, married quick. And now here we are on tour and we are in the backstage of some venue with like penises drawn on the wall. Like it's like the glass is shattered. Like
So how did you deal with that?
a lot of therapy. A lot of therapy.
Therapy around going on tour, a lot of therapy in regards to the relationship.
Therapy in regards to the relationship. Because, you know, I tend to have a temper. I tend to get angry. I'm really sensitive to criticism. I'm really sensitive to somebody like trying to tell me what to do. And so I like blow up, and we didn't know how to navigate it. I didn't know how to navigate it. I know Bill didn't know how to navigate it. And we came from two very different families. Like I came from a family with two parents who kind of fought a lot growing up, who kind of kept their distance from each other, not a lot of like closeness and intimacy and affection. And my dad would just kind of, you know, sweep things under the rug and then explode. And I was used to hearing people yell. So I yell. Bill came from a family of 8 with a very much in love mother and father. So two very different dynamics as to how you deal with conflict. So we did a lot of therapy. Yeah. And then I came home from a tour and I was pregnant.
What was that like?
That was really exciting. Totally unexpected. It was like 3 days before Christmas, 2014. And I had just kind of finished this tour from the EP that I made. And I was like, everything just shifted. Like I just was like, I need to take a break. Like I've been touring for like almost 15 years at this point straight. I need to take care of myself now. I want to enjoy being married. I want to enjoy being pregnant. I don't want to be on tour pregnant. I'm just going to let myself just be. And so I really took my pregnancy to really just take care of myself and just slow down. I had no expectations. I had no goals. I had no plans to songwrite. I had no plan. I played a couple shows. Pregnant, very pregnant actually. I played Bottle Rock Festival, 7.5 months pregnant. I did a benefit with John Legend, very pregnant. And I'm really glad I did those shows actually, because anytime I would play guitar, Kylo would kick when he would hear, whenever he would hear
Kylo is your son.
Kylo is my son, yeah. Whenever the guitar was against my tummy, he would kick towards the guitar. And so I have these memories of playing those shows and him just going nuts in my belly, you know, and those pictures, of course. And yeah, I really took a year off. I didn't do anything musically. I barely picked up a guitar except for when I needed to rehearse. And I really kind of trained for pregnancy like it was like a triathlon. Like I was just like working out and keeping my pelvic floor fit, and I was eating all the greens and drinking all the green juice, and I was just like going to yoga, and I just enjoyed being pregnant so much. Like it was this really magical experience. And we continued to go to therapy through that too. And then I feel like once we started going to therapy, we were just regularly in therapy, whether or not we were having issues, just for maintenance.
I've spent thousands of hours in therapy, but it always reaches a point where I feel like I got to walk away from it for a second and go live my life.
And know that you know how to integrate what you've learned.
Right, exactly. Otherwise, it just feels like I'm constantly in therapy, and I've got to go out and take those things that I've learned about myself and how to sort of engage and deal with the world and actually apply them in real world scenarios.
We were pretty regularly in therapy because, again, all the shit was coming up. And once Kyla was born, you know, Bill was spending a lot of time at work and I was feeling alone. And then, but at the same time, like there's actually not a lot for dad to do those first couple of months. Like, I mean, so there was like all sorts of things always coming up, but therapy felt very nice to have that external person to, you know, hash things out with. And I feel very lucky that I had a partner who was also open to going to therapy. And I like commend you for going to therapy and doing that, because I had my fair share of partners who don't want to go to therapy and they don't want to look at their stuff. And I feel like that's a bit of a roadblock. You can only get so far, you know? And still to this day, I'm like, I need people to point out the blind spots, the things I can't see. And so I feel like therapy and self-work is very important in that way, because I want to be seeing the things I can't see, you know? Yeah. I'm trying to remember like when things started going downhill.
Were things going downhill, or did it? And I've found this in my own life, and I don't know if
I feel like I know where you're going with this.
Well, I don't know if this has been your experience, but you just reach a point where you know that the ride is coming to an end, that the relationship has run its natural course. And I've certainly been in relationships where you try to hold on a little bit longer and it actually just makes things worse. One person does or the other person does.
Yeah.
Instead of letting it run its natural progression. So I guess my question is, did it reach that point, or was there something else that said, you know what, this is not going to work?
No, I think it really was like, as we started to kind of do this work with each other and do this therapy, it's like the truth started to get revealed. The projections of what we had of one another and the kind of like, right? Because we enter into relationships and we're like, I think I know who you are and I'm going to treat you based on what I think you are. But that's not what you are. And once you start really getting to know each other and getting underneath to that deep-rooted stuff, I would say it was kind of like mining in a way. Like you just kind of shake the pan so much, it kind of gets clearer and clearer, and you realize like, oh, there was like a really good intention here to be together, but like it's actually not what we thought maybe. We're both not getting, the things that we are important to us in a relationship because we kind of entered into the relationship not knowing what the fuck we were doing. Like we just, he was like, I want to find a wife and check all the boxes off. And I was like, I've never been asked out on a date. Like, let's get together and see what happens. Like there was no awareness. We didn't know ourselves.
And one of the things I admire a great deal about your relationship with Bill is how amazingly the two of you are able to co-parent now. Having gone through divorce and certainly gone through these experiences together. How do you go from that point saying, hey, this relationship is not going to work as a marriage. However, we have this child and we can either co-parent, we can raise them independently in our own worlds. And I've seen every version of it, but I will say from what you've posted on Instagram and what I know of your relationship personally, it seems like you guys have figured out what works for you. And I'm curious what practical things you've done to be able to get to that place, because I know a lot of people in my life that aren't in that place.
Yeah.
And in fact,
Same,
in fact, it's quite the opposite.
Yeah. That's the normal, right? When you get divorced, it's when you think of like divorce, it's like messy, someone's at fault, like fuck you, like it's like don't talk to me, like it's this very negative experience. And I think both of us were like, I don't accept that reality. I love you. Why do I want to make you the enemy? And I'm going to get all teary talking about it. The biggest part of that dynamic came from our relationship was really built on a really sweet friendship. So, it took a lot of therapy. There was a lot of therapy, like just even because it was me that wanted out of the relationship and I was just super frustrated. And I went on like a surf trip and I surfed for like 7 days straight and didn't wash my hair. And I was sandy and dirty and sunscreened and so happy. And I was just like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? Like I love this person, but this kind of lifestyle that we're leading and this dynamic that we're having like is not healthy. And this is not feeding my soul. This is not who I am and what I want. And I want a much simpler life. And through that process, I think Bill also learned there was a lot of things that he wasn't getting, which took, he didn't want the relationship to end. And it took a couple months for him to get to a place of him. I remember this day, actually, we were in therapy because he always kind of came into therapy like, I don't want this to end and I want to try to make it work. And like, what can I do? And like, please, please, please. And I remember one day he came in and he was just like, fuck you. And he was so angry. And I was like, wow. It's like kind of actually nice to see you fucking mad, because he had been so reserved and nice for so long. And the therapist was like, yeah, get fucking mad. Like, because he really needed to feel that emotion of being fucking mad. And he was like, yeah, I'm not getting all of this shit that I want to. And I'm compromised, and so he like definitely, he had a breakdown of like where I think he finally came to terms with, he's actually not happy either. There's a lot of things that he was compromising. And I think when both of us were able to get to this place of radical honesty, of letting go of the idea that the relationship was so perfect and really seeing the relationship for what it was and all the dysfunctionality of it and all of the beautiful parts of it, and really like just accepting the reality of the situation, like then it was like, okay, what do we want to do with this now? And did a lot of therapy. I mean, there was a lot of therapy in me just being like, nope, I still don't think it's right. Nope, don't still think it's right. And it was a very consistent, like, nope, this is not the right relationship for me. I mean, we tried everything. We did therapy, we did workshops, we did weekend thing, Gottman Institute, like did everything. And
one of the things my mother says to me all the time is relationships take work, but it also shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah.
And was there ever that moment for you? You know, you're going to therapy, you're going to workshops, you're going to weekends.
Yeah.
And was there ever a point where you just go, you know what? It's too much.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, I'm all for therapy, but like if you got to go to therapy once a week, twice a week, individually and together to be trying to figure out your relationship, like it is fucking too much. It's not how I want to live. And I tell you, like after we got divorced, I was like, love you, therapist, but I won't be seeing you for a while. Like I just was like, I'm so exhausted. Like no more. So long story short, we separated, and then our therapist really walked us through this process of consciously uncoupling.
What does that mean?
This was like 1.5, 2 years of us from the moment we said, or I said, I don't think I can be in this marriage. I don't want to be in it, to actually getting divorced and going through with it. Because it was a lot of time invested to make sure, I wanted to really make sure I was making the right decision and not just being reactive or running away from something or not allowing myself to be loved or blaming him for everything. Or like, I really wanted to explore every nook and cranny of this relationship to make so that I could actually 100% feel good with this decision I was making and I wouldn't regret it. And then the conscious uncoupling of saying goodbye to the things we thought the relationship would be, the kind of relationship that we thought we would have, all the things that annoyed us, all the things that we're going to miss. And then how are we going to make sure that this human that we have is taken care of and loved? And I think for the two of us, like we really do love each other so much that it was just like, okay, I can like put my shit aside. And he was like, I can put my shit aside. He's the most important thing now. And, you know, it was really Bill like this, like he really dove in deep and really allowed himself to be so vulnerable and look at all of his shit. And I remember him saying like, you know what, like, he was pissed, you know, he did not want to get divorced, but he was like, you know what, our vows can still be true. We can still be here, like through death do us part, through sickness and health, like through the good and the bad. And, you know, then he started to kind of go down this road of like, what even is marriage? Like, oh, we're just like in all these divorce meetings. Like we're just basically taking the state out of our relationship. Like, what does this even mean? So we file taxes together and we have like a legal document. Like that actually doesn't mean fucking anything. Like we can still honor our vows and our friendship and our relationship. And that was super refreshing to have a partner that kind of thought outside the box.
But how do you do that and then bring new people into the...
Oh, well, we haven't gotten there yet. But yeah, and that was refreshing for me to hear him say that, because I kind of approached divorce of like, I don't subscribe to this, like we have to hate each other and custody has to be this shitty thing. And I don't subscribe to that. Like, I love you. I want to honor our relationship. It's not what we thought it was going to be, but maybe it's going to be even better if we can be open to that. And Bill was like, I'm open to it. Let's give it a try. And to answer your original question in a nutshell, how do we co-parent so well? You both have to be open to letting it become something else and being open to the mystery of that and seeing what happens. And also like take responsibility for your own shit, clean up your shit as best you can, and, you know, be respectful and kind to the other person. I mean, at the end of the day, like, I mean, I would trust Bill with my life and vice versa. We are each other's best friend. And that took a lot of work to get there, but really that took both of us being on the same page and subscribing to the same kind of idea and not subscribing to the norm that society teaches us. And I just said, like, we're going to choose a different way and be like trailblazers in this new path. And bringing in new people is a whole other dynamic. The kind of promise that we made to each other was, first and foremost, me, you, and Kylo are the most important. We'll always be a family, and no person is going to come in between that. Because of course I was like terrified that some fucking bitch is going to come along and like swindle him away and like brainwash him because he's so nice and lovely. I was just like, oh God, like, and push me out and create, I worry like someone's going to, I don't worry about that myself. Like I would never let somebody come in and try to, create distance between Bill and I and break our family up. But I was definitely worried that maybe on his side, because he was sad and lonely, that would maybe easily be something that could happen. And he was just like, I'm never going to like, no one is ever going to come above you and Kylo. Like, it will just never happen. And so we made that promise to each other. Like, we're a family first and foremost, and the right person will come along and be stoked on that dynamic and see that as a positive. Oh, how lovely. Can you imagine dating a girl and she's like, oh yeah, my ex and I are great. We have a super healthy relationship. Like, you're like, fuck, awesome. Don't have to deal with a crazy ex. I dated someone whose ex they would just talk shit about them all the time. And I was just like, God, that's like taking up so much energy. That seems so exhausting. Like, God, that's how you spend your time. Like, and we just vowed not to, we were just like, it's never going to happen. You couldn't pit us against each other if you tried. And both of us are super committed to that. And that takes two people being honest and about where they're at and what they want and committing to that, making it a priority.
So much of your music, from literally going to anything at all to up until the last single you just put out, is about love. Mm-hmm. And you have said many times that you love love.
I do.
How has your definition of love changed, having gone through your experience with Jason, having gone through your experience with Bill, having spent time in therapy learning to love yourself? What does love mean to you now?
Oh gosh. I mean, it's funny. I'm like, my last partner, I remember him saying like, all you do is sing about love, but you don't know anything about it. Like, and you're so bad at it. And I was just like, geez, that's harsh. And then I was like, I think that's why I love it so much, because I don't know anything about it. It keeps changing. It's like this thing that it's like this never ending lesson. It's like dry ice. It just like keeps going and going and going and transforming. And it takes all these different shapes and sizes and feelings and emotions and colors. And I think that's my fascination with it, is it's like a chameleon. It's the greatest teacher. It's enduring. It's unconditional. At times it's conditional. It really can take on and wear so many hats. And I'm obsessed with, I want to learn all about it. I want to know all the sides of it. So what does it mean to me now? It's got a lot of strength. It's like, it's very enduring, I would say. And I still love it.
What does success look like to you?
Being present as a mom and raising a solid little human the best I can.
Are you successful on your terms?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, with my son, yes, I feel like I'm pretty present. And, well, I don't know, Phil. I don't know. You have to ask me that in 18 years about that one. But gosh, that's a really good question. I feel like I've experienced a great deal of success, and more than I could have ever imagined when I was 15. More than I could have imagined when I was sitting in my room learning to play guitar. Like, what a fucking journey. Like, I don't even know how to read music. Like, how did I end up with a music career?
How do you define failure?
Failure is like the greatest teacher on the planet. Like, I mean, failure is inevitable and also contains a great gift.
Can you name a failure looking back that at the time felt completely overwhelming, but ultimately set you up for success?
Yeah, many. So many. At the time, my breakup with Jason felt super exposed and overwhelming. And Looking back, there was a lot of like that, Cedar and Gold came from that album. And that album helped a lot of people, work through their own heartbreak and relationships ending. My favorite is when I get an email from someone that's like, I did not get this album at all. Oh, and then I went through a breakup and I totally got it. Like, or people would email me saying like, everything's a fucking breakup album. But then I went through a breakup and I got it.
I interviewed Butch Walker, and he was talking about Afraid of Ghosts, which is an album essentially about losing his father. He said on several occasions, people have come up to him and said, hey, when that came out, I didn't really like it because it wasn't like your other stuff. And then I lost my dad, and I can't stop listening to it.
Yeah. I think that's the magic of music, is there's a time and place for it to find you. And that's what's so mysterious about it is, I remember like listening to Bjork and being like, I don't get this, and then several years later hearing a Bjork song and being like, what is this? I'm obsessed with it, or I'll hear music now that I really resonated with previously, like years ago. And I'm like, don't really get it. Like, so I think that's the beauty of it is like, and I think that's why I try to remember when I'm making something, I can't be making it for other people to like it. I am making it for myself in that moment because that's what I need to make. And it will resonate with whoever it's meant to resonate. If that's one person or 10,000 people. And you know what? It might not even resonate with anybody right now. Like sometimes I'll make something and I'll be like, I don't even resonate with this, but like, I know it's coming out of me. It's coming out of me for a reason. It's obviously an extension of me. And like, you just have to follow the idea. And there's been plenty of times where I've written music where in the moment, I don't even know what the song is about. And then I'll be on stage playing it somewhere and I'll be like, oh, it like suddenly relates to whatever's going on in my life then. And I'm like, oh, now this song makes sense, which is, as an artist, I definitely am writing songs about specific things, but when you put it out into the world, you're leaving it up to the listener to interpret and integrate into their own experience, which you're not really thinking about when you're making it because it's so specifically about this one thing. It's a good lesson in like trying not being too attached.
How do you define happiness?
Happiness to me is like being of service to other people, really. It's like if I can do something for someone else, for my son, if I can make Bill's life easier, if I can write a fan back, like happiness is being of service to other people. That is what brings me the most happiness. And surfing makes me pretty happy.
What would you say to 18-year-old Tristan?
Oh, girl, strap your seatbelt on. It's going to be a wild ride. And enjoy the process a little bit more. I feel like for much of those beginning phases of being in New York and like going to New York for the first time and making 23 and just being like so enamored with my relationship with Jason, like I missed out on a lot because I was, I've in recent inner child work, I've realized I have this like deep patterning where I seek approval and acceptance outside of myself in relationships. And like, I allow, if something external can approve or accept of me, then I'm like loved and I'm worthy. And so I spent a lot of my 20s just seeking that outside acceptance instead of just fucking being present with where I was and just enjoying the moment. Like I'd be like obsessing about boys I liked or just so distracted and involved with this other thing that didn't matter. And so I wish I could have whispered to myself in that moment, like, this shit doesn't matter. Like, just open your eyes to what's in front of you and this crazy experience that you're having. Like, you're on Bowery making a fucking record in New York and you brought flip-flops with you because you don't own a pair of shoes. Like, like I wish I would have soaked up the moments a little bit more. Instead of always being like, what's next? What's going to happen next? And who am I going to end up with? And like, who am I going to marry? And like, who, just always like not in the now.
How would you describe what you do for a living?
It's fun. It's creative. And it's ever expanding and ever teaching me.
Tristan Prettyman, thank you for speaking with me.
Thank you, Noah. It's been a pleasure.
The Days Between is a production of Noah Abrams Studio. Story editing by Andrew Henry. Mixing and mastering by Todd Stapera and reference recording. Website design by John Fisher. Theme music is by Evo. The Days Between can be found online at www.thedaysbetweenpodcast.com and on Instagram at The Days Between Podcast. My name is Noah Abrams. Thanks for listening.